Sub-zero blizzards froze humans solid within minutes of exposure. Baking bread seemed impossible when fire couldn't even stay lit. They noticed rocks retained heat long after the sun set. Sand held heat longer than air or wood ever could. They buried dough in heated sand, no oven needed. The first bread baked in sub-zero winter was born. Flat stones became griddles, conducting heat evenly through sand. Insulated sand ovens trapped heat for slow, even baking. They developed precise timing methods using steam cues alone. Warm bread meant survival, community, and hope in darkness. Insulated pouches kept dough viable for days in freezing camps. Grinding grain indoors prevented moisture loss and frost damage. They used melted snow water, never cold water, to activate yeast safely. Body heat-proofed dough when fire was too weak to risk. Tactile tests replaced thermometers in their ancient kitchen. Underground sand ovens worked even during howling blizzards. Consistent ratios ensured reliable results across generations. Children learned heat testing before they could walk. Clay pots preserved moisture, preventing hardening in dry cold. Bread became currency. Warmth traded for survival essentials. Heated sand warmed feet, hands, and even bellies during travel. Sand sterilization prevented illness when clean water was scarce. Sand acted as the world's first thermal food container. In the coldest dark, they baked light and survived. Sand retained heat 3 times longer than crushed rock. Fine sand conducted heat more evenly than coarse grains. Clay pots distributed heat without scorching the sand. Hand span measurements standardized safe baking temperatures universally. Blown air created convection currents for faster, deeper heating. Ash layers reflected radiant heat back toward the dough. Leaves injected steam for soft, chewy texture in dry cold. Elbow tests prevented burns after early painful lessons. One sand oven served food, tools, and clothing needs. Heated sand extended growing seasons beyond summer months. Sand activated healing properties in plants before modern medicine. Portable sand pouches were the first wearable heaters. Cave ovens became permanent winter kitchens for tribes. Rotation ensured even browning and prevented burning. Stone pressing created signature patterns and even thickness. Insulated jars held heat for 12+ hours overnight. One sand bed cooked multiple foods simultaneously. Oven-building skills spread rapidly across Ice Age Europe. Hollow tap confirmed perfect bake without cutting open. Cold sand functioned as natural refrigeration in winter. Wood ash improved thermal conductivity and reduced clumping. Sand drying preceded smoking for long-term protein storage. Fur insulation cut fuel needs by 40% in extreme cold. Color-coded sand batches prevented cross-contamination and errors. Sand softened frozen materials for critical repairs. Warm bread built bonds with early domesticated animals. Elders managed ovens. Their wisdom prevented disasters. Oven training began at age 5. Survival skill priority. Breaking bread over sand ovens sealed tribal alliances. The first baked loaf was offered to spirits of warmth. Bread became canvas for cultural storytelling and identity. Oven blueprints were the first shared technical documents. Sand ovens enabled mass production of winter gear. Bread shapes tracked seasons and celestial events. Warm bread delivered calories and comfort to the ill. Songs synchronized sand stirring and baking timing perfectly. Insulated caches saved tribes during unexpected blizzards. Sand ovens reduced infant mortality in winter births. Portable ovens fueled long-distance winter hunts successfully. They understood basic chemistry through plant-based pH tests. Sand steam was the first antiseptic treatment in history. Shadow length calibrated oven heat with solar precision. Bread stored for spring symbolized hope and continuity. Sand ovens provided safe drinking water in frozen landscapes. Chimneys made ovens 30% more efficient and safer. Oven success sparked festivals that lasted millennia. Cave engravings preserved oven specs for 10,000 years. Sand enabled cheesemaking before metal pots existed. Night guards kept ovens alive through deepest cold. Sand cooled drinks just as it warmed them. Removable lids made baking fast and efficient. Moisture tests prevented steam explosions in hot sand. One sand pit preserved bread, meat, and fish together. Crackle sounds warned of dangerous temperature spikes. Sand enabled intricate artistry even in deep winter. Bread honored ancestors who mastered the cold. Sand ovens let humans colonize the Arctic first. Superior thermal tech gave Homo sapiens decisive edge. Sand preserved life-saving medicines through long winters. Double-walled ovens predated modern thermoses by 12,000 years. Bread powered Ice Age trade networks across continents. Sand incubation supported early bird domestication efforts. Knot-based math ensured recipe reliability across tribes. Sand sterilization enabled early surgical procedures safely. Communal ovens became centers of winter social life. Survival tech was shared, not hoarded, ensuring collective resilience. Sand warmth cut newborn hypothermia deaths dramatically. Zoned ovens allowed simultaneous multi-stage baking. Sand dried materials for music, ritual, and communication. Charcoal logs documented 500 years of thermal optimization. Sand enabled winter canoe construction for river travel. Bread tokens were the first non-precious currency. Sand ovens made year-round beer brewing possible. Windbreaks made ovens functional in 100-millimeter winds. Sand preserved vitamins through the darkest months. Oath-bound knowledge transfer ensured survival continuity. Used sand returned to nature, completing the thermal cycle. Fallen wood fueled ovens, preserving living forest ecosystems. Oven ash fertilized soil, ensuring future grain harvests. Leaf wrappers created zero-waste baking systems entirely. Root-intact harvesting ensured perennial grain field regeneration. Shared bread supported bird populations, maintaining ecosystem balance. Site rotation prevented soil depletion around oven locations. Solar preheating reduced fuel consumption by half daily. Rainwater mixing conserved precious snowmelt for drinking. Failed loaves composted, returning nutrients to barren soil. Deadfall windbreaks protected ovens without cutting living trees. Daylight-aligned baking maximized free solar thermal energy. Dung fuel converted waste into essential baking heat. Seed caches supported wildlife, ensuring mutual species survival. Stone repair extended oven lifespans beyond single generations. Moss insulation reduced dependence on hunted animal furs. Wildlife health monitored to adjust baking intensity levels. Fire breaks prevented catastrophic wildfires near oven sites. Geothermal vents provided free heat, replacing fire completely. Gratitude rituals instilled deep respect for all resources. Camouflaged ovens minimized visual impact on landscapes. Seasonal abundance dictated optimal baking schedule timing. Abandoned sites restored fully to original wild states. Moderate heat levels conserved fuel while baking effectively. Shared ovens prevented redundant construction resource waste. Ash deterred pests, protecting grain stores naturally safely. Weather prediction optimized fuel collection, preventing emergencies. Residual oven heat warmed shelters through cold nights. Stories encoded sustainability lessons for future generations. Conscious restraint balanced human needs with ecosystem limits. Excavated ovens reveal sophisticated Ice Age thermal engineering. Bread residues prove advanced grain processing techniques existed. Ancient principles inspire modern sustainable thermal technologies. Chefs revive sand baking, honoring ancestral culinary traditions. Hands-on lessons teach ancient thermal physics effectively. Survivalists preserve sand baking for modern self-reliance. Artists reimagine ancient ovens through contemporary aesthetic lenses. Oral traditions supplement archaeological evidence comprehensively accurately. Communal baking strengthens social bonds in modern communities. Bread-making therapy grounds, anxious minds through tactile work. Adversity sparks universal human creative ingenuity always. Low-tech solutions respect planetary boundaries effectively, sustainably. Global traditions show universal responses to cold. Hybrid ovens merge ancient and modern technologies seamlessly. Stories preserve emotional truths of ancient survival. Policy protects indigenous thermal knowledge as heritage. Educational toys engage young minds playfully effectively. Traditional crafts enhance cognitive well-being measurably significantly. Unbroken wisdom chains continue through patient teaching. First successful bakes build confidence and competence. Daily practice keeps ancestral traditions alive vibrantly. Terrestrial wisdom guides extraterrestrial survival adaptations. Ancient methods benefit emergency field medicine situations. Traditional tech builds climate-resilient agricultural systems. Ancient physics informs sustainable architectural design principles. Ritual baking creates meaning through skilled repetition. Bread economies challenge capitalist assumptions fundamentally radically. Past interactions inform future conservation strategies effectively. Poetry captures warmth, truths data cannot express. Dance translates technical knowledge kinesthetically, emotionally, powerfully. Songs preserve procedural knowledge through auditory memory. Sculpture honors functional ancestors through three-dimensional form. Visual ethnography preserves endangered living knowledge practices. Archives safeguard fragile baking information institutionally permanently. Translation bridges temporal divides linguistically accurately, respectfully. Activists defend cultural landscapes as living heritage. Dialogue resolves knowledge conflicts, respecting all stakeholders. Ancient wisdom guides sustainable post-industrial food futures. Gratitude acknowledges foundational ancestral contributions humbly, sincerely. Enduring ingenuity glows like sand ovens forever.